Anybody who says, listen to me carefully, I know what I'm saying and I'm being precise in my words. Anyone who says, I do not have to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, I don't care what he said, I don't have to do it, that person is not a Muslim anymore. It's very simple. It is unequivocal. If a person says, I don't care what the Prophet ﷺ said, I don't have to follow it, this person has rejected Islam. Because you cannot have Islam without obedience to the messenger of Islam. It's simple as that. وَمَنْ يُطِعِ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهِ فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Allah gives a qasam by the Rabb of Muhammad ﷺ, Surah An-Nisa. فَلَا وَرَبِّكَ. Allah could have given qasam on anything. He gave the qasam on the Rabb of Muhammad ﷺ by the personal pronoun Rabbika, your Rabb, Ya Rasulullah. Allah is signifying how important the Rasul is. I swear by your Lord, Ya Rasulullah. لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. They do not have iman. حَتَّى يُحَكِّمُوكَ فِيمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ. Until they take you as the hakam, the judge, in anything that happens between them. And they submit to your judgment without any complaint or issue. Theoretically, the Muslim says, سَمِعْنَا وَأَطَعْنَا. Now suppose he falls short in his actions. That's a sin. We all fall short. We commit a sin. We say, astaghfirullah, may Allah forgive me. But to say, I don't have to follow the one whom Allah has sent to you, you have not just rejected that man, you have rejected the Lord of that man. So, these groups, they do exist, but they are very, very small in number. In Pakistan there was, and I'll mention a name here because he's established his record and he's gone. He's not going to change now. Ghulam Parvez, somebody who passed away in 1955 or so, right? Mr. Parvez, or whatever we're going to call Mufti Parvez, whatever. This person, I can mention his name because he's established his record and he's somebody that should be warned against, and he's gone. He cannot change his record now. It's there. He openly said, there is no such thing as following the Sunnah. And so his group is called Parvezis, or they call themselves Quraniyun. Here in America, in Tucson, Arizona, there was somebody called Rashad Khalifa. If you know the famous 19 theory, the theory of 19, which was debunked. He started it in the 1980s, and then eventually somebody assassinated him because he claimed to be a prophet of Allah. When he denied the Sunnah, then he said, you have to follow me instead of Rasulullah. So somebody did something that is illegal and should not be done in a non-Muslim land, and he assassinated him, so he died in Tucson. But Rashad Khalifa established a group. It is still around. There's still a masjid. I drove by it once when I was in Tucson. And they call themselves the Quranists. The Quranists. And they do not pray 5 times a day, because they say 5 times prayer is not in the Quran. How many times do they pray? 3 times. وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ طَرَفَيِ النَّهَارِ وَزُلَفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. They interpret this to me 3 times. When they stand up to pray, there is no Allahu Akbar and Fatiha. How do they pray? يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا ارْكَعُوا وَاسْجُدُوا. They stand up, ruku', sujood, and that's their salah. They follow the Quran. It's in the Quran, right? There are also groups in Indonesia and Malaysia. There's a group in Kerala in India as well. And they recently, last year, they reached global news because they had a female-led Imam Jumu'ah in India, in Kerala, in India. That's that group, the Quraniyun. You haven't heard of it? Look it up. It's a very small group. I think 1 masjid there. These people exist, but wallahi, they're so minuscule. I mean, it's just 1 masjid. In all of America, 1 masjid. Tucson, Arizona, that called themselves Quraniyun. Anybody who denies that we have to follow the Prophet, this person has negated Muhammad Rasulullah. And who told you La ilaha illallah other than Muhammad Rasulullah? So they are not Muslim. Is that clear? Now we get to the more controversial issue. The more controversial is, more common than that, is the notion, I'm not going to accept this hadith, or Bukhari, or Muslim, or whatever book you quote me, because I don't trust that this reflects what our Prophet ﷺ said. So they don't deny the concept of the Sunnah. They deny the preservation of the Sunnah. And that is a huge difference. It is a difference between Iman and Kufr. Because when somebody says, I'm not going to follow this hadith, why? Ask him why. If he says, I don't care. Even if the Prophet said it, I'm not going to follow it. This is kufr akbar. He is murtad. There is no iman for somebody who says that. If somebody says, oh, this cannot be from my Prophet ﷺ, now in his own mind, what he is doing, he is defending in his mind the Prophet ﷺ from this hadith in Bukhari, let's say, okay? And he says, yeah, if the Prophet was in front of me and he said this, okay, I'd have to accept, that's fine. But I'm not going to trust Imam al-Bukhari who came 256 years later. You see the difference between the two, right? Now, for this case, we say this is a deviation, a bid'ah. Because you see, Islam, as we mentioned some weeks ago, the Prophet predicted 73 groups within the ummah. This is one of those groups that, okay, generally speaking, a group that says we're going to follow the sunnah if we know it is the sunnah, right? This group is within the fold of Islam because they're not rejecting Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What they're rejecting is the preservation of the sunnah, and we say this is dangerous. We say this is a deviation. We say this is a bid'ah. We say you are potentially destroying much of Islam. But we have to be fair, it is not kufr in and of itself. Is that clear? The person, any person who says the sunnah has not been preserved, we say this person is a person of Ahl al-Bid'ah, one of the 72 groups. He is not mainstream orthodox Sunni. But we cannot say this person is kafir, because theoretically he is saying, I want to follow the sunnah. But he's saying, I don't agree, this book you quote me is the sunnah. You see the difference here, right? So this in a nutshell is the response to this question. And also, by the way, my advice to this questioner and to all of us, I understand we need to get verdicts on other people, and once in a while it's necessary, but make sure we do not make this our primary concern to put people in boxes and categorize them. Or else you will waste your life talking about others and accomplish nothing yourself. Be more concerned about yourself and your contribution to the ummah. And if somebody you feel you're not comfortable with, if you don't take from them and remain silent, nobody can criticize you. Nobody can criticize you. But if you open your mouth and you're not qualified and you say things, perhaps on Judgment Day, if you were wrong, that person can say, give me my haqq back. And what will you say in front of Allah? To err on the side of caution is better when it comes to mentioning names, especially of living people. And don't make this your primary goal to worry about other people. Make it your primary goal to you yourself contribute positively to the ummah. So this, I hope I answered the question without actually answering the question, inshaAllah ta'ala. Okay.